Terrence Williams and his friends crawled through a maintenance tunnel under Adventure Valley theme park. They were not supposed to be there. Nobody was. They found a hidden corridor, followed it deeper underground, discovered an abandoned laboratory, medical equipment covered in dust, files scattered across the floor. Then they found the freezer. Industrial size, door rusted but unlocked. Terrence pulled it open. The smell hit first, then the sight. Human bones, skeletal remains, 8 sets arranged on metal shelves. One skeleton wore a watch on its wrist. Old Timex, cracked face, stopped working years ago. Terrence moved closer, saw the worn leather band, the scratched metal casing, the faded inscription on the back. His older brother Rodney had worn that exact watch, their father's watch, given to Rodney before he died. Rodney, who disappeared 3 years ago. Before we continue, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to hear this story. Please note that the characters and events in this narrative have been dramatized and fictionalized for storytelling purposes. If you are comfortable, let me know where you are listening from and what time it is where you are. Now let me tell you what really happened. Summer 1991, East Atlanta, Georgia. The Williams family lived in a small house on Glenwood Avenue, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, front porch where Dorothy sat every evening after her nursing shifts, neighborhood where everybody knew everybody, where children played in the streets until dark, where families looked out for each other. Rodney Williams stood in the kitchen of that house, 24 years old, wearing his Adventure Valley maintenance uniform, green polo shirt, khaki pants, name badge clipped to his chest. He had worked hard to get this job. Applied 3 times before they hired him. Competition was fierce for positions at the biggest theme park in Georgia. His mother Dorothy sat at the table, 51 years old, still in her nurse's scrubs from the night shift at Grady Memorial Hospital. "You working late again tonight?" Dorothy asked. "Yeah, Mama. They got me on the underground systems. Electrical maintenance in the tunnels. Pays good though, $12 an hour. That was real money in 1991. More than double minimum wage. Enough to save seriously for the future." Dorothy nodded, pride showing in her tired eyes. Rodney had been working at Adventure Valley for 3 months now. Biggest theme park in Georgia. Good job, steady paycheck. He was saving money for trade school, electrical certification program at Atlanta Technical College. Rodney's younger brother, Terrence, walked into the kitchen. 19 years old, engineering student at Georgia State University, home for the summer. "You still messing around in those tunnels?" Terrence asked. "Somebody got to keep the lights on." Rodney grabbed his keys from the counter. "Park don't run itself. Be careful down there." Rodney laughed. "It's just tunnels, Terry. Ain't nothing down there but wires and pipes." He kissed his mother on the cheek. "I'll be home around midnight. Don't wait up." That was the last normal conversation the Williams family ever had. Rodney drove his 1987 Chevrolet Cavalier to Adventure Valley, parked in the employee lot behind the maintenance building, clocked in at 3 in the afternoon. His supervisor, Marcus Henderson, assigned him to Section 7, deepest part of the underground tunnel system. Electrical panels needed inspection. Routine work, but important. The whole park depended on power flowing properly. Marcus was a good supervisor, 53 years old, worked at Adventure Valley since it opened in '72, knew every inch of those tunnels, had trained Rodney personally, saw potential in him. "Section 7 today," Marcus said, handed Rodney a clipboard with the inspection checklist. "Panels 12 through 28. You know the drill." "Yes, sir." "Be thorough. Take your time. Those panels haven't been checked in 6 months. Could be corrosion, could be loose connections, could be rats chewing through insulation. You never know what you'll find down there." Rodney grabbed his toolbox, heavy metal case full of everything he might need, headed down into the tunnels. The tunnels under Adventure Valley ran for miles, built in 1972 when the Prescott family constructed the park. Richard Prescott Sr. had designed them himself. Said they needed extensive underground infrastructure for utilities and maintenance access. Most employees never went below level 2. Section 7 was level 4. Restricted access, special clearance required. Rodney had that clearance. Good worker, reliable, trusted. He walked through the tunnels, fluorescent lights humming overhead, concrete walls, metal pipes running along the ceiling. Got to Section 7, around 4:30. started his inspection, panel by panel, checking connections, testing circuits. Normal work. Then he heard voices, coming from somewhere deeper, past the electrical room, past where the maintenance maps showed anything should be. Rodney followed the sound, found a corridor not on any map, hidden behind a false wall panel. The panel was slightly open. He pushed through. The corridor led to a large room, medical equipment, examination tables, monitors, machines he didn't recognize, and people, men in expensive suits, speaking quietly. One turned and saw Rodney standing in the doorway. Rodney ran. He got back to the main tunnel, heart pounding, hands shaking, made it to the surface, clocked out early, drove home. That night he sat with Terrence in the bedroom they shared growing up, spoke quietly so their mother wouldn't hear. Something bad happening in those tunnels, Terry. They got rooms down there nobody's supposed to know about. I saw things. Terrence leaned forward. What kind of things? Rodney shook his head. Can't talk about it. Not yet. But I'm telling my supervisor tomorrow. This ain't right. Whatever they doing down there, it ain't right. Maybe you should go to the police. And tell them what? I saw some rooms. They'll think I'm crazy. Nah. I gotta get proof first. Talk to Marcus. See if he knows anything. Then we figure out next steps. Terrence nodded slowly. Be careful, Rod. Always am, little brother. Always am. The next morning, Rodney left for work. Dorothy made him breakfast, eggs and toast. He ate quickly. Said he had an early meeting with his supervisor. Love you, Mama. Love you more, baby. Have a good day. Rodney walked out the front door. Dorothy Williams never saw her son again. 3 days passed. Rodney didn't come home, didn't call, didn't answer his phone. Dorothy called Adventure Valley. Human Resources, said Rodney had clocked in that morning but never clocked out. His car was still in the employee parking lot. She called the police. Officers came to the house, took a report, asked routine questions. Did Rodney have any problems? Was he having trouble at work? Did he have a girlfriend? Money issues? Drug problems? Dorothy answered everything. No problems. No trouble. No girlfriend at the moment. Saving money responsibly. Never touched drugs in his life. The police searched his car. Found his keys in the ignition. Wallet in the glove box. $37 cash inside. No signs of struggle. Detective Roy Hendricks took the lead on the case. 45 years old. 20 years on the force. He interviewed Adventure Valley management. Spoke with employees. Checked the tunnels. Found nothing. 2 weeks later, he called Dorothy into the station. Sat her down in a conference room. Mrs. Williams, we've completed our investigation. There's no evidence of foul play. Your son's car was unlocked. No signs of struggle. No witnesses saw anything suspicious. Dorothy stared at him. So where is he? Our conclusion is that Rodney likely left voluntarily. Young men do this sometimes. Chase opportunities elsewhere. Start fresh somewhere new. My son would never leave without telling me. He called me every single day, every day for 24 years. He wouldn't just disappear. Detective Hendricks nodded sympathetically. I understand this is difficult, but adults have the right to start over. There's no evidence suggesting anything happened to him. The case is being classified as a voluntary missing person. What does that mean? It means the active investigation is closed. If new evidence emerges, we'll reopen it. But for now, there's nothing more we can do. Dorothy went home, sat at the kitchen table, stared at Rodney's empty chair. She didn't accept it, couldn't accept it. Over the next 3 years, she filed new missing person reports every single month, called the police station every week, demanded updates, demanded action. They stopped taking her calls, stopped returning her messages. One officer told her point blank that she was wasting department resources. She hired a private investigator with money she didn't have, maxed out her credit cards, took out a second mortgage on the house. The investigator found nothing. Trail was cold. No leads, no witnesses, no evidence. Rodney Williams became another statistic. Another missing black man from Georgia. Another cold case filed away and forgotten. But Dorothy never stopped believing, never stopped searching, never stopped knowing in her heart that something terrible had happened to her son. And Terrence never stopped either. September 1994. 3 years after Rodney disappeared. Terrence Williams was 22 now, Senior at Georgia State, engineering major, good grades, promising future. But the hole Rodney left never healed. Every day, Terrence thought about his brother. Every night he wondered what really happened in those tunnels. He lived off campus with two friends, Lamar Jackson, 21, business major, Andre Mitchell, 23, computer science. Good guys, loyal friends who knew about Terrence's brother and never pushed him to talk about it. That Saturday night they were bored, looking for something to do. Lamar suggested Adventure Valley. Park closes at 10. Security's minimal after midnight. I heard there's tunnels underneath. Urban exploration type stuff. Andre laughed. You want to break into a theme park? Not break in, just explore. My cousin worked there last summer. Said there's miles of tunnels. Nobody goes down there at night. Terrence went quiet. Tunnels. The tunnels where Rodney had worked. Where Rodney had seen something he wasn't supposed to see. I'm in, Terrence said. They drove to Adventure Valley. Parked half a mile away in a shopping center lot. Walked through the woods to the perimeter fence. Found a section with loose boards. Slipped through. The park was dark, rides silent, empty pathways lit only by security lights spaced too far apart. Lamar led them to a maintenance building near the back of the park. Door was locked, but Andre had brought tools. They got inside within minutes. Found stairs leading down. Descended into the tunnels. The air changed immediately. Cooler, damper, smell of concrete and old machinery. They used flashlights to navigate. This is wild, Lamar whispered. Like a whole city under here. They explored for an hour. Found electrical rooms, storage areas, utility corridors. Nothing unusual. Then Terrence noticed something. A wall panel that didn't match the others. Slightly newer. Slightly different color. He pushed on it. It moved. Hidden corridor behind it. Just like Rodney had described 3 years ago. Yo, what is that? Andre shined his flashlight into the darkness. They followed the corridor. It went deeper than the other tunnels. Down another level. The walls changed from concrete to something older. Original construction, maybe. The corridor opened into a large room. Medical equipment. Examination tables covered in dust. Monitors with cracked screens. File cabinets. Everything abandoned, but clearly once operational. What the hell is this place? Lamar's voice echoed. Terrence moved through the room. Found a door in the back. Heavy. Metal. Industrial. He pulled it open. Freezer. Walk-in size. Industrial grade. The kind restaurants use. Metal shelves lined the walls. On the shelves, bones. Human skeletal remains. 8 sets. Arranged carefully. Almost respectfully. Each skeleton on its own shelf. Terrence's flashlight beam moved across them. His breath caught in his throat. One skeleton wore a watch. Old, worn leather band. Terrence's flashlight beam lingered on it. His breath caught in his throat. He knew that watch. Timex. Cracked face. Hadn't worked in 15 years. Their father had worn it every day until he died of cancer in 1983. Rodney was 16 then. He took the watch. Wore it every single day after. Said it kept their father close. Terrence moved closer. Hands shaking. Leaned in to see the back of the watch casing. Inscription. Faded but readable. To James. Love always. Marie. Their parents' names. Rodney Williams. Terrence collapsed against the freezer wall. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Could only stare at what remained of his brother. Terry. Andre grabbed his shoulder. Terry, what's wrong? Terrence pointed at the chain. His voice came out broken. Barely a whisper. That's my brother. That's Rodney. That's his chain. Lamar looked at the skeleton. At the chain. His face went pale. We need to call the police. Right now. Andre pulled out his disposable camera. Started taking pictures. The room, the equipment, the freezer, the remains, everything. They got out of the tunnels. Got out of the park. Made it back to their car. Terrence called 911. I need to report human remains. Adventure Valley theme park. Underground tunnels. 8 bodies. The operator sounded skeptical. Sir, can you repeat that? 8 bodies. Human remains. In a freezer. Underground at Adventure Valley. One of them is my brother. He's been missing for 3 years. Police arrived 90 minutes later. 2 patrol cars. 4 officers who clearly didn't believe what they were hearing. They asked questions with skeptical tones. Made jokes among themselves. treated the young black men like pranksters or criminals rather than witnesses to a potential crime scene. Detective Roy Hendricks showed up an hour after that. Same detective who had investigated Rodney's disappearance 3 years ago. Same detective who had closed the case after 2 weeks. Same detective who had told Dorothy Williams to accept that her son had left voluntarily. He looked at Terrence with obvious irritation, recognition dawning, then annoyance. "You again, the Williams kid. I found my brother, down there, in a freezer. 8 bodies total. You broke into the park? Does that matter? There are human remains down there." Hendricks sighed. "Show me." They went back into the tunnels. Terrence led them to the hidden corridor, to the laboratory, to the freezer. Hendricks looked inside. Face unreadable, shined his flashlight across the shelves. "I'll need to call this in." He made phone calls, spoke quietly so Terrence couldn't hear. Other officers arrived, then someone in a suit, then Adventure Valley security. Hours passed. Dawn approached. Finally, Hendricks came to Terrence. His expression was strange, almost sympathetic but also dismissive. "Here's what's going to happen. This scene needs proper investigation. You and your friends need to leave. We'll contact you if we need additional statements. That's my brother in there." "We don't know that yet. Could be anyone. Could be old remains from before the park was built. We need forensic examination. The chain, the initials, R.W., Rodney Williams." Hendricks put a hand on Terrence's shoulder. "Go home. Let us do our job. We'll be in touch." 2 days later, the official statement came out. Adventure Valley issued a press release. The remains discovered in the underground area were historical, predating the park's construction. Likely from an old cemetery disturbed during original development in 1972, the Prescott family was cooperating fully with authorities. No connection to park operations. No foul play suspected. Case closed within 72 hours. The medical examiner ruled the remains historical, without thorough examination, without DNA testing, without identification attempts. Terrence tried to push back, called Detective Hendricks every day, demanded answers, demanded the watch be examined, demanded the remains be identified. Hendricks finally lost patience. "Listen to me carefully. You broke into private property. You contaminated a potential crime scene. You're lucky you're not being charged. The investigation is complete. The remains are historical. Your brother's case remains voluntary missing person. Stop calling me. Stop making accusations. Stop, or you will be charged with filing false reports and trespassing. Do you understand?" Terrence understood. The system was protecting someone, the Prescott family, richest family in the county, owned Adventure Valley since they built it, donated to political campaigns, funded police charity events, had the mayor on speed dial, had judges at their Christmas parties, had power that Terrence could barely comprehend. The same system that had dismissed Rodney's disappearance 3 years ago. The same system that had told Dorothy to move on and accept that her son had left voluntarily. The same system that treated black families as nuisances rather than citizens deserving protection. Terrence started doing his own research. Court records, property transfers, campaign donations, financial connections. Discovered Detective Hendricks owned a lakefront property, purchased in 1992 from a Prescott subsidiary company. Below market value, way below market value. That was the year after Rodney disappeared, the year after Hendricks closed the case. Sergeant Bill Patterson had a brother-in-law, attorney named David Chen. David Chen worked for the Prescott family legal team, had for 15 years, small world, convenient connections, corruption hiding in plain sight. That night, Terrence got a phone call, 2 in the morning, unknown number, disguised voice, electronic distortion, making it impossible to identify. "You found something you shouldn't have. Forget it. Move on, or your mother loses both her sons." The line went dead. Terrence sat in darkness, shaking, terrified, but also angry, more angry than he had ever been. They had killed his brother, whoever they were, and now they were threatening him. He could be silent, could be scared, could let them win, or he could fight. The next morning he drove to his mother's house, sat her down at the kitchen table, told her everything. Dorothy listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was crying, but underneath the tears was something harder, something fierce. "That's my baby in that freezer, my Rodney, and they're covering it up. The police won't help. They're in on it somehow. I don't know how deep it goes." Dorothy stood up, walked to a cabinet, pulled out a thick folder. 3 years of documentation, missing person reports, police call logs, private investigator notes, everything. Then we find another way. We find out who else went missing. We find other families. And we make so much noise they can't ignore us. They started digging. Library records, newspaper archives, missing person databases. Within a week they found 7 other families. Tyrone Davis, 22, seasonal worker at Adventure Valley, disappeared, June 1988. Kevin Brown, 23, maintenance staff, disappeared, August 1989. Marvin Carter, 21, food service, disappeared May 1990. Jerome Harris, 24, groundskeeping, disappeared July 1990. Clarence Robinson, 23, maintenance staff, disappeared March 1991, 2 months before Rodney. Reginald Foster, 22, electrical department, disappeared October 1992. Darrell Washington, 24, security trainee, disappeared April 1993. 8 young black men, all worked at Adventure Valley, all disappeared without trace, all cases closed within weeks, all ruled voluntary departure. 8 families searching desperately, 8 families dismissed by police, 8 families told to move on. Terrence and Dorothy contacted each one, shared what they had found, shared photos of the freezer, shared the pattern that was impossible to ignore. They met at Dorothy's church, Greater Mount Zion Baptist, brown brick building on Memorial Drive, been serving the black community since 1923. Safe space, sacred space, where the truth could be spoken without fear. 8 mothers sat in a circle in the fellowship hall, folding chairs on linoleum floor, coffee and tissues on a folding table, fluorescent lights humming overhead, plus Terrence, plus Lamar and Andre who refused to abandon their friend. The mothers ranged in age from 42 to 61, different backgrounds, different neighborhoods, different stories, united by one terrible thing: missing sons, black sons, sons the system had failed and forgotten. The mothers cried, shared photographs of their boys, told stories of who they were before they disappeared. Tyrone, who loved basketball, Kevin, who sang in the church choir, Marvin, who wanted to be a teacher, Jerome, who made everyone laugh, Clarence, who was saving for an engagement ring, Reggie, who played guitar, Darrell, who coached Little League. Real people, real lives, real dreams, all ended in that freezer under Adventure Valley. Then the mothers got angry, righteous anger, holy anger, the kind of anger that moves mountains and tears down walls. Then they organized. They called themselves Mothers of the Missing. They created a petition, demanded investigation, demanded DNA testing of the remains, demanded answers. Local police refused to help. Local media ignored them. Adventure Valley's lawyers sent cease and desist letters threatening defamation lawsuits. Nobody with power would listen. Then Dorothy remembered someone who might. Reverend Calvin Brooks, 62 years old, prominent Atlanta civil rights leader, had marched with Dr. King in the 60s, had been beaten on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, had spent 40 years fighting for black communities when nobody else would, had connections throughout the state, had a national reputation, had never backed down from a fight in his life. Terrence drove to his church, Ebenezer West Baptist on the outskirts of the city, waited 4 hours in the reception area to get a meeting, read old magazines, watch church staff come and go, almost gave up twice but stayed. Finally, Reverend Brooks came out personally. Tall man, gray hair, kind eyes but steel underneath. Looked at Terrence for a long moment. "You, the Williams boy, the one who found the bodies?" "Yes, sir. Come on back. Tell me everything." Reverend Brooks listened to everything. For 2 hours. Didn't interrupt once. Looked at Andre's photographs. Read the documentation. Studied the pattern. Asked questions only when Terrence finished. "This is exactly what they've always done," he said quietly. His voice carried decades of pain and wisdom. "Our children disappear, and nobody cares. The system looks away. Protects the powerful. Abandons the vulnerable. Been happening since slavery times. Different methods but same result. Black bodies treated as disposable." He stood up. Drew himself to full height. Eyes blazing now. "But not this time. This time we make them care." Reverend Brooks mobilized his network. Churches throughout Atlanta spread the word. Black radio stations covered the story. Civil rights organizations took notice. The petition gathered 10,000 signatures in 2 weeks. National media picked up the story. CNN, network news, newspapers across the country. 8 missing black men may have been found under Georgia theme park. Public pressure mounted. The governor's office received thousands of calls. The state attorney general faced questions at every public appearance. Finally, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation announced they were taking over the case. GBI agents arrived at Adventure Valley with federal forensic teams. They excavated the underground complex, documented everything, tested the remains. DNA results came back within 3 weeks. All 8 skeletons identified. All 8 matched the missing workers: Tyrone Davis, Kevin Brown, Marvin Carter, Jerome Harris, Clarence Robinson, Rodney Williams, Reginald Foster, Darrell Washington. 8 young men. 8 families finally getting answers. 8 cases that should never have been closed. The investigation expanded, revealed a trafficking operation running 6 years under Adventure Valley. Young workers lured to private events in the underground sections, wealthy guests paying for access. Those who resisted or threatened to report were eliminated. The Prescott family had facilitated everything. Richard Prescott Sr. personally approved guest lists. His son, Richard Jr., managed logistics. But the Prescotts had good lawyers, the best money could buy. 2 days before arrest warrants were issued, the Prescotts fled to Switzerland. Country with no extradition treaty for these charges, took their money with them. Offshore accounts, untouchable. Instead, the GBI arrested James Whitmore, 51, park operations manager, and Victor Sims, 48, head of security. Both men were involved. Both had participated. But both were employees following orders, not the architects, not the decision-makers. Detective Roy Hendricks was arrested for corruption, accepting bribes to close cases quickly, cover up evidence, protect the Prescotts. Sergeant Bill Patterson arrested for obstruction of justice. The trial lasted 4 months. Packed courtroom every day. National media coverage. Families sitting in the front rows, wearing photographs of their sons on buttons. Making sure everyone remembered these were real people. Not statistics, not cases. People. Whitmore and Sims tried to blame the Prescotts. Said they were just following orders. Said they didn't know the full extent. Said they were afraid for their own lives. The jury didn't buy it. Testimony from the anonymous insider. Documentary evidence. Financial records. Showing payments. Scheduling logs. Everything pointed to willing participation. Knowing participation. Paid participation. Whitmore broke down on the stand. Cried. Begged for mercy. Said he had children of his own. Dorothy stood up in the gallery, voice ringing clear across the courtroom. My son had a mother too. Bailiffs had to escort her out. But everybody heard. Everybody remembered. Whitmore and Sims were convicted on multiple charges: murder, conspiracy, trafficking, obstruction, life sentences without parole. They would die in prison. Hendricks got 15 years. Patterson got 8. But Richard Prescott Sr. lived freely in Geneva, his son in Monaco. Their crimes exposed, but their bodies untouched by justice. Their money protecting them across an ocean. The families watched the verdicts together. Relief mixed with rage. Justice served but incomplete. The men who ordered everything escaped consequences. Only their tools faced punishment. Memorial service held at Reverend Brooks's church. Standing room only. Over 500 people. 8 photographs displayed at the altar. 8 candles burning. 8 names read aloud by their mothers. 8 families finally able to bury their sons. Finally able to say goodbye. Finally able to grieve properly after years of not knowing. The service lasted 3 hours. Hymns sung, prayers offered, stories shared, laughter mixed with tears as families remembered the good times, the birthday parties, the graduations, the Sunday dinners, the ordinary moments that become precious only after they're gone forever. Dorothy stood at the podium at the end, held Rodney's watch in her hands, their father's watch, the watch that had identified him, that had broken the case open, that had started everything. My son tried to do the right thing. He saw evil. and wanted to stop it. They killed him for it. But they didn't kill his memory. They didn't steal our love. They didn't destroy our fight. She looked at the congregation, at the cameras, at the nation watching. The men who ordered this walk free today. They drink expensive wine in Switzerland while we bury our children. That's the reality. That's the system. That's what power does. But we didn't stop. We found our sons. We exposed the truth. We got whatever justice this broken system would give us. And we'll keep fighting. For the next family. For the next son. For the day when powerful men can't buy their way out of consequences. Terrence spoke next. Stood where his mother had stood. Looked at Rodney's photograph. My brother was my hero. Worked hard. Saved money. Took care of our family. Had dreams. Was going to be an electrician. Was going to build a good life. His voice cracked, but he continued. They stole that. Stole his future. Stole him from us. And for 3 years we didn't know what happened. 3 years of not knowing. 3 years of police. Telling us to move on. To accept. To forget. I found him by accident. Wasn't even looking that night. Just exploring with friends. But something led me to that tunnel. To that freezer. To that chain around his neck. I believe Rodney led me there. Believe he wanted to be found. Wanted the truth to come out. Wanted the other families to get answers too. Terrence looked at the congregation. 8 men died because they worked at the wrong place. Saw the wrong things. Knew the wrong secrets. And nobody cared enough to find them. Nobody cared enough to push harder. Nobody cared enough to believe their families. We have to do better. Have to care more. Have to believe families when they say something is wrong. Have to investigate thoroughly, regardless of who the suspects are. Have to value black lives the same as any other lives. That's Rodney's legacy. That's what his death means. Not the horror of how he died, but the change his memory demands. 1996, 2 years after the discovery. The state of Georgia built a memorial garden outside Atlanta. 8 granite stones arranged in a circle. 8 names carved in black. 8 young men remembered. Each stone bearing a name, a birth year, a death year, a short phrase chosen by the family. Words like courage, hope, dreams, faith, love. Simple words carrying infinite weight. Terrence visited every month, brought flowers, sat on the bench facing Rodney's stone, sometimes for hours, sometimes just a few minutes, always on the 17th. The day Rodney disappeared. He had graduated from Georgia State, engineering degree, good job offers waiting, companies recruiting him, promising salary, promising future, everything he had worked for within reach. He turned them all down. Instead, he worked with Reverend Brooks, started an organization called Black Missing Persons Advocacy, small office in downtown Atlanta, 3 staff members at first, grew to 12 within 5 years. Helped families navigate investigations, kept pressure on police departments, made sure cases stayed open, made sure families were heard, made sure no mother sat alone wondering what happened to her child. Dorothy volunteered with him every weekend, still working as a nurse during the week, still fighting for her community, still making sure no mother went through what she went through, still carrying Rodney's memory in everything she did. The Prescotts remained in Europe, protected by distance and money and international law. Richard Sr. died in Geneva in 1998. Heart attack, natural causes, never faced trial, never faced consequences, never acknowledged what he had done. His son Richard Jr. inherited everything, the money, the offshore accounts, the freedom, still lives in Monaco today, still throws parties, still lives well, while 8 families visit granite stones in a memorial garden. That's the bitter truth. The men who ordered everything walk free. The men who profited walk free. Only their tools faced punishment. Only the employees. Only the disposable ones. Adventure Valley closed in 1995. Nobody wanted to visit anymore. The Prescotts sold the land for a fraction of its value. The park was demolished in 1997. Bulldozers and wrecking balls reducing everything to rubble. Nothing remains of it now, just empty land slowly returning to forest. Trees growing where the rides once stood. Grass covering where families once walked. Nature reclaiming what human evil had poisoned. The tunnels were sealed with concrete. Thousands of tons poured into every entrance. The laboratory destroyed. Every piece of equipment removed and incinerated. The freezer taken apart and melted down. as if destroying the physical evidence could erase what happened there. But the truth couldn't be buried. The names couldn't be erased. The families couldn't be silenced. Not anymore. Not ever again. Terrence stood at Rodney's stone one September morning, 10 years after the discovery, 33 years old now, running the Advocacy organization full-time. Found another one last month, Rod. Young man from Macon. Missing 8 months. Police had given up, called it voluntary. Same old story. Same old dismissal. But we pushed. Kept investigating. Knocked on doors. Made phone calls. Wouldn't take no for an answer. Found him alive. Trafficking situation down in Florida. Got him home to his family. His mama hugged me for 10 minutes straight. Couldn't stop crying. Kept saying thank you over and over. He touched the cold granite. Felt the engraved letters under his fingertips. Rodney, Williams. That's what your death gave us. The will to keep fighting. The knowledge that families deserve answers. The certainty that every missing person matters. You tried to do the right thing. Tried to expose what you saw. They killed you for it. But they couldn't kill what you started. Couldn't kill the fight you passed to me. The Prescotts are still free. That burns every day. But Whitmore and Sims will die in prison. Hendricks and Patterson serve time. And the families have answers. The families have closure. The families have each other. It's not enough. Never will be enough. But it's something. Something real. Something that matters. Terrence placed flowers at the base of the stone. Red roses. Rodney's favorite. Rest easy, brother. I got it from here. He walked away from the memorial. Got in his car. Drove to meet another family. Another case. Another missing person who deserved to be found. The fight continued. Would always continue. As long as families searched. As long as children went missing. As long as the system failed the vulnerable. For Rodney. For all 8 men. For every family still searching. For every name that deserved to be remembered. For every mother who refused to give up. For every brother who wouldn't stop looking. Their memory demanded nothing less. Forever.